Now this morning we talked about the instructions on cutting through the web of existence. So generally when we're talking about recognizing the nature of mind, then sometimes have the instructions of breaking the eggshell of ignorance. Sometimes we use the instructions of cutting through the web of existence. But sometimes, and so these instructions are like how we distinguish things. So we have, points that we're in doubt about, and points that we're not certain about. And so how do we cut through that doubt? So that we can say, this is what it is. This is what is correct. This is what is not proper. And so that teaches the methods how to do that. And so those are the instructions on cutting through the web of existence. And then following that come the instructions on abiding in space-like equanimity. So space-like equanimity, this is like making it better and making it vaster. So when we are in the phase of the eggshell, with being within the eggshell of experience, then at that point we don't really have many experiences of clarity or bliss or emptiness. And then when we develop the stability of it, then within that we begin to have this, then at that point we begin to have the experiences. And so at that point we need the instructions on cutting the web of existence. So what is the web of existence? Well, here it is these experiences of clarity and insight. But this is not the clarity of the Dharma nature, the clarity of the nature mind. It's not the emptiness of the Dharma nature, the emptiness of the nature of mind. Actually, this is a mentally fabricated experience. It's as it says, both of these cases, however, are aspects of mind consciousness, the attachment to an experience of dualistic fixation. So when that happens, what we need to do is look at the essence of that which is clinging to the emptiness, and look at the essence of that which is clinging to the clarity. And so these are the instructions on cutting through the web of existence. So following this come the instructions on the space-like equanimity. And so here, as it reads, through the spontaneous self-cognizance of your innate nature, recognize the awareness that is free from the various covers of assumption and temporary experience, just as rice is free from its husk. And so when we are meditating like this, when we primarily when we're talking about the instructions on cutting through the web of experience, at that point the main thing that we are trying to eliminate is the mentally fabricated experience. The mentally fabricated experience of emptiness and the mentally fabricated experience of clarity. And so these are experiences that are like the husk on a rice. So when you have the husk on a rice, then then the actual experience of when you recognize the nature of the mind is like when you've removed that husk from the rice, and you've actually realizing that. And so if you have clinging to the experiences, then that is, And so when you remove that husk, then it's like you have that naked awareness, the spontaneous self-awareness that is free from the various covers. It is uncovered. And so you're actually seeing the essence as it is. You're seeing the awareness that is the union of clarity and emptiness. And so that essence that is like the clarity of union of clarity and emptiness, that is like the germ of rice, and so that's what you can eat. That's what you can eat right away. So this is the way. This is. It's like we're just letting ourselves be within the Dharma nature as it is, letting the Dharma nature be. So it is just resting spontaneously within this, and spontaneous, and so it is naturally luminous when we see this. So naturally luminous means that it is aware of itself, and so these, in this way, we have to go through this. We have to cut the web and then see the nature of the Dharma nature, see the way the nature of the mind is, and we come to an experience when we say that is what the experience is. That is the Dharma nature. That is the nature of the mind. And when we see this, we have certainty that this is something that is not altered or is not made up by the mind in any way. Lots of Western Dharma practitioners are really extremely fortunate. Not only have we had the chance to enter the gate of the Dharma, meet wonderful root and lineage lamas, get wonderful instructions, but there are also many who have had introductions pointing out instructions to the nature of the mind. They've been pointed out, they've developed some sort of experience of the nature of the mind. And this is really wonderful. It is extremely fortunate to do this. And so here in this instruction, the instructions on breaking open the eggshell of ignorance and cutting the web of existence, of these two, the first of them, breaking open the eggshell of ignorance, is like when at first you haven't seen the nature of the mind, coming so that you can see it. And then making so that if you have the mentally fabricated experiences, so that you can eliminate those experiences as you need to do. So among all of you, there are many who have probably been introduced to the nature of the mind and recognized it. So then, what do you need after that? Well, as it says here, just recognizing this nature of awareness alone is not enough. So of course, recognizing the nature of this is good. It's extremely fortunate to recognize the nature of the mind. But is that alone enough? I'm sorry, it isn't. It's not enough. And so the aspect of abidance, being acquainted with that state, must be stable. And so abidance, here that means staying or resting within that. Resting within the nature of the mind without being distracted. So we need to have this good aspect of resting within that, and it has to be stabilized. And so sometimes it's like, yeah, we know what it is. Sometimes you get distracted. Sometimes you're overcome by thoughts or overcome by the afflictions. And so we need to stabilize this nature of the mind. So generally when we talk about things, we have the view, meditation, and conduct. And here what we're talking about is the view. There are different ways we can develop the view. We can develop the view through inference, and we can develop the view through direct perception. But in either case, the view means basically the basis that we're using, the basic view that we're using to look. And so when we develop this through through inference, we can use the logic that's explained in treatises to come to understand that all phenomena are emptiness. There is no self of the individual or the self. We can come to understand that there is Buddha nature that is present and permeates all sentient beings, and we can develop real certainty of this. But this is based upon, and to develop this, we rely upon inference to do that. But that is not what we mean here. That is the view of the sutras. In the secret mantra Vajrayana, we actually use direct perception. And through using the direct perception of looking directly at it, we come to the point where we can say, this is the nature of the mind. This is the dharmata, the dharma nature. And we can recognize it. So that is the view of direct perception. And so we need to be able to, we need to have that, we need to realize that. But when we realize that view, is realizing it known enough? It is not. As it's said here, just recognizing this nature of awareness is not enough. What else do we need to do? We need to meditate. So here, as it says, we must stabilize this. It must be stabilized. And so when we begin resting within the expanse of the Dharma nature, we need to stabilize it. And so that is how we need to stabilize our experience of resting within the nature of mind. So here it says we need to stabilize our mind. Well, what is the method for stabilizing our mind? How do we do that? Well, the method is taught next. It says, so it is important to sustain undistractedly the constant mindfulness of letting your mind rest in the natural state. So letting your mind rest in the natural state, or just letting your mind be, means that you don't alter your mind in any way. The way that your mind is awareness. And so you just rest within that and changing it. And so that is what you rest within, this natural state of letting be. And so how is it that you actually rest in it? Well, undistractedly, you say, I need to sustain it undistractedly, the constant mindfulness. And so you need to have good mindfulness and awareness in the sense of knowing what you're doing at the time you're doing it. This mindfulness and attention at the time that you are doing this. So you have to maintain that mindfulness and attention constantly at all times, so that you are not distracted from your meditation. So it is important to sustain undistractedly the constant mindfulness of letting your mind rest in the natural state. This is as the great Master Shantideva said in The Way of the Bodhisattva, those who wish to practice meditation need to stabilize their mind with mindfulness and awareness. So I join my hands in prayer asking you to do so. And so we need to have good meditation in our minds. And if we want to practice, those who want to practice, what you need to have is a strong mindfulness and the awareness in your meditation. And so here it's saying that we need to have the undistracted constant mindfulness, that strong mindfulness that is always necessary. This is the mindfulness of not accepting or rejecting anything. It's very important to have this sort of mindfulness. And so this is the sort of experience that we have through that mindfulness. So when we are maintaining that constant mindfulness, we need to be undistracted with that mindfulness. We need to be diligent about doing this. And so what is it that happens when we do this? Does this mean that if...
Tati lontong kanguni de dewi nyong goni tati suning to
all so the con data curious didn't engine on data curious they have okay. So when we're maintaining the continuity of our mindfulness in this way, we need to be undistracted from this, and we need to be diligent about this. And so if we're diligent about maintaining this mindfulness without being distracted, well, what is it that's going to happen at that point? Does this mean that we're diligent about practicing, we're being mindful, and all of a sudden everything is going to go along swimmingly and be lovely and beautiful the whole time? No, I'm sorry. It doesn't happen like that. So when maintaining the practice in this way with the mindfulness, there is sometimes a dull and absent-minded state of not knowing anything. And so it's like nothing's going. It's like, am I really meditating? What's happening? It's sort of not really not knowing anything that's going on at that point. Sometimes there's a non-conceptual state of openness exposing the brilliance of vipassana. So sometimes it feels like there's a really strong, good quality experience of meditation. So the first one was like a flaw in the meditation. The second one seems like a quality in the meditation. Then sometimes there's an experience of bliss with attachment. You have this feeling, really pleasurable feeling, and you get attached to it, and you want that attachment. And sometimes there is an experience of bliss without attachment. And so you have the experience, and yet you don't have the flaw of the attachment. So sometimes you have the experience of bliss with attachment, and sometimes you have the experience of bliss without attachment, which seems like a quality. Sometimes there are various experiences of clarity with fixation. So we have this experience of clarity and we are attached to it and fixated upon it. This is like a mentally fabricated sort of clarity. And so we have this attachment and fixation upon it. And sometimes a stainless brilliance free of fixation. So the brilliance, that's like another clarity that seems really good, clear, brilliant, wonderful, and excellent. So we think that, so this is another aspect of an experience of clarity. Sometimes there is an unpleasant experience of roughness, and so like we have all this feeling of all these thoughts occurring, and they're unpleasant, difficult, problematic thoughts. And then sometimes we have a fearful thoughts. Sometimes we have a pleasant experience of smoothness. So things seem nice, smooth, wonderful, nice, and pleasant. Sometimes there's a strong experience of discursive thought which carries you away and scatters the meditation. So sometimes you have the feeling that there's so many thoughts that it's so rough in there that you just completely lose your meditation. You're feeling like, well, there's no meditation going on here at all. Where's the meditation gone? Then sometimes a torpid state of dullness without any clarity. And so you have this feeling like there's absolutely no clarity at all, this sort of foggy state, and you're really not able to separate any clarity out from any of the fogginess or siltiness in your meditation. So there are all sorts of experiences, high experiences and low experiences that we can have. But what's the root of all of them? These experiences coming without any predictability or certainty are discursive thoughts and waves of the mind and waves of the wind of karma cultivated since beginningless time. And so what we need to meditate upon is the Dharma nature, or the nature of mind. And this is something that has been present within us since, that is primordially present within us. But we have been acclimatized or habituated to confused appearances since beginningless time. And so for that reason, thoughts can be really problematic. So there are all the thoughts. So they're discursive thoughts. And then there are also the waves of the wind of karma. And so there's all the karma that we have done in our previous lives. And these are like the waves that come from that karmic wind. And because sometimes we have good winds and bad winds, and so sometimes we have peaceful thoughts, sometimes we have bad thoughts, and all these happens. These are all the waves of the winds of karma. But there's no predictability. We can't say, okay, this one's going to come now, this is how it's going to happen. There is no certainty about how they happen. They're just like these waves that come without any predictability. And so we need to be able to maintain this. So while we're trying to maintain the experience of mindfulness, of the nature of mind, we do have these various different experiences that happen. Sometimes they're happy experiences. Sometimes they're nice and good experiences. And sometimes they're bad experiences. So there's an example now that's given about this. Say you're going out on a long journey. It's going to take you many days to get there. So when you're on a journey like this, sometimes it's really pleasant and lovely, and sometimes it's really difficult and hard and even fearful. So sometimes you see good things and wonderful things, and sometimes it's like horrible things. So they're like the sights of the various pleasant or precipitous places when making a long journey. You see all of these different things. So at that point, what happens is so you see these various things when you're making the journey. So what is it that we need to do for our mind then? What are the instructions that we need to do? How is it that we need to maintain our meditation? Well, sometimes we are going to have good experiences, and sometimes we're going to have terrible experiences, and it's going to be really hard. But what we need to do is we need to therefore maintain the natural state without deliberately fixating on whatever occurs. And so if a good experience occurs, then you need to think, I've had a good experience in meditation. I'm wonderful. This is great. There's no need to get prideful about it. And so we should not deliberately fixate or really cherish or cherish that feeling of the meditation. Rather, we should just let it maintain the natural state. Let it just follow the natural progress of that. Then sometimes we have, a terrible experience, and then we think, I can't meditate, I'm horrible, this is a terrible situation, I can't practice like that. But that's not necessary either. Rather, we again just sort of maintain the natural progression of the meditation. So sometimes it's going to feel like, oh, this is really good. Sometimes it's going to feel like this is terrible, or this is horrible. But there's no need to say that. Rather, whatever experience it is that we have, then that's exactly where we need to meditate. And we just meditate with whatever is going on. It's like when Gampopa was meditating. When Gampopa was meditating, he had all sorts of experiences. Some of them were really wonderful experiences, and some were completely terrifying. And when he went to his Lama Milarepa said to him, "This is not a problem. It's not a good thing either. Just keep meditating as you're going. Just keep on with the meditation." Then one day, Milarepa then gave him an example of it. It's like someone who's pressing their eyeballs and they end up seeing 2 moons. Now, when you see these 2 moons, some people might get really excited. They say, everyone else only sees 1 moon. But I see 2. I'm special. I'm really excellent. And then other people might say to themselves, everyone else only sees 1 moon, and I'm seeing 2. There's something really wrong with me. I'm in real danger now. I'm in trouble now. But actually, it's not like that. You're just pressing your eyeball. And so, in the same time, when we're working with our mind like this, when we're really sort of working with the points, with the critical... the Tibetan word is like the same word as pressing on the pressure points. It's like when we're working with the pressure points of the mind, then there are all sorts of things that are going to appear to us. Sometimes we're going to have beautiful experiences, sometimes really clear experiences. Sometimes we're going to have fearful, really terrifying experiences. So there are many different things that are going to happen. But all of this is happening because we're working with the pressure points of the mind. And so all we have to do is actually keep going, maintain the natural state without deliberately fixating, without sort of cherishing the experience of what we have. And so there are all of these experiences that we can have, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, but we just need to continue and maintain our meditation maintain the progress of our meditation without fixating on them much. And so when we have these experiences, we just need to sustain our meditation without fixating, without clinging or grasping at the experiences. Well, so then, what is it that we need to do? How is it that we need to progress? Well, when we recognize the nature of the mind, then what is it that we need to do? And what are the experiences that we have when we do that? What does it feel like when we recognize them? Well, sometimes we feel good experiences, sometimes bad experiences, but if they're good experiences, we should not be attached to them. If there are bad experiences, we should not be fearful of them. It's important for us just to continually maintain that experience. And so that is normally what often happens when we maintain or sustain this experience. But then, as it says, especially when you're not really trained in this practice. So here in the Tibetan it says sort of especially. So especially when you're not really trained, so when you're beginners and you haven't really practiced this meditation much, then the experience of turbulence occurs with a multitude of thoughts which can blaze up like a fire. And so sometimes we're meditating, it's like we're meditating and then there's a thought that occurs and then another thought occurs. It's really strong and forceful. It's like a fire that just blazes up. Like we can't stop them at all. And so this is the experience of turbulence in our meditation. Like there's a thought and then another thought and another thought and another thought and it just won't stop. And so we often... This is a problem that particularly occurs for beginners in the meditation. So when that problem occurs, what is it that we need to do? Well, it says, don't become discouraged at this time. So there's no point in thinking, oh, I'm terrible, I'm never going to be able to meditate, I should just give up. That's not how we need to thought. We just don't become discouraged at this point, but maintain unbroken practice by keeping balance between being too tight and being loose. So don't be too tight, don't tighten up too much, don't be too loose about your meditation, just be right in the middle, in that sweet spot in the middle. So maintain the unbroken practice, and then gradually it will develop. Meditate like this when we're maintaining this unbroken practice in this way. Then thereby the experiences such as attainment and so forth will gradually occur. So the experiences of attainment are the experiences of attainment, familiarization, and stability. So attainment, familiarization, and stability. And so the first of these experiences, which are talked about in the instruction manuals on Mahamudra, is the experience of attainment. And so this is when we're starting to develop the resting aspect of our meditation. It said that at first, when we meditate, our thoughts are like a stream rushing down a steep mountainside. And so at first it seems like there's just waves and things moving all the time. So when we first start meditating, then it often seems to us like there are all these new thoughts that are happening in our mind. Right? We didn't have so many thoughts before, but now there are all these new thoughts happening. So what's going on? Well, actually, it is not that we have all these new thoughts in our mind, it's just that we didn't notice them before, and now we are noticing them there. They were there before, we just didn't recognize them. And so actually the fact that we're recognizing them is a sign that we're developing the ability to rest in the mind. We're developing the resting aspect of the mind. So that is the experience of attainment. The second of the three experiences, the experience of familiarity. And so that is, as it explains in the commentary, it is like a river that gradually is, a large river gradually flowing down to the sea. It's going very gently and leisurely down to the sea. But underneath there are all these thoughts that are still going. But they're small thoughts. It's not like they're big, huge, coarse thoughts, but they're rather this continuous bit of small thoughts happening. And so this is a sign that actually the resting aspect of the mind is getting stronger. So that is the second experience, the experience of familiarity. Then the last of the experiences is called the experience of stability. And this is like the unmoving ocean where nothing is moving at all. And so these are the experiences such as attainment. So attainment, familiarity, and stability. So first we have attainment, then we get the sense of the familiarity, and then we get the stability where it's like the ocean, the unmoving ocean as it is stood. And so thereby these experiences such as attainment and so forth will gradually occur. And so this is what will happen if we can sustain the continuity of our unbroken practice. Now, what happens when we're sustaining this is that there are what are called in the sort of general instruction manuals, they're the 5 faults. These 5 faults are laziness, and then forgetting the instructions, then torpor and agitation, 2 that are counted as 1, then too much effort, and then too little effort and too much effort. So these are the 5. So they're laziness, forgetting the instructions, torpor and agitation, too much effort, and too little effort. And so the first of these is laziness. And so it's when we know I really ought to meditate, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I can't do my meditation. That's laziness. We need to get rid of our laziness. It prevents us from actually beginning to meditate. We can't really engage and begin our meditation. And so we need to eliminate our laziness and develop diligence. And so then we have the next fault is forgetting the instructions. And so forgetting the instructions is, the Lama has given you lots of instructions and then just not remembering them at all. So we need to remember the instructions over and over and over again. So we need to remember the instructions they've given us on insight, or the instructions that they've given us on shamatha meditation. We need to remember, in particular in this context, the instructions on breaking open the eggshell of ignorance and on cutting the web of existence. We need to remember them over and over again. We need to remind ourselves and keep them clear in our minds. And so the antidote for this problem of forgetting the instructions is mindfulness. Mindfulness in the sense of remembering. So remembering is the antidote for forgetting the instructions. And then when we have that mindfulness of remembering, then we can develop the quality of awareness, maybe awareness with a little a. This is the awareness in this translation note. We use the English word awareness all the time, mindfulness and awareness, mindfulness and awareness. So it's hard to use another word. But we also use the word awareness for rikpa. This is awareness not in the sense of rikpa, this is the awareness in the sense of the Tibetan word sheshin, which means knowing while you're knowing. So you know what's going on in your head as you're going. So this is the awareness with the little a, perhaps. This awareness of knowing what's happening in your mind. And so then when we've developed that, we know what's happening in our mind. So the third fault is the fault of torpor and agitation. And so this is sometimes that our mind is not clear at all, and sometimes that our mind is way too clear. And so when we have torpor and our mind is not clear, then we need to sort of perk up our mind and sing, think of the praises, the positive aspects of meditation. And then when our minds are agitated, we need to sort of calm them down. We need to sort of depress them a little bit and think about the faults of samsara. And then, so that's the third fault. The fourth and the fifth faults are too much effort or too little effort. And so those are discussed below, so I won't go into them now. So we need to maintain this experience. And so whether we are just beginners or whether we have developed a small amount of experience in our meditation, at this point, generally, you will gain confidence in the difference between awareness and ignorance, all ground and dharmakaya, consciousness and wisdom, as pointed out and recognized in your own experience, and then I think there might be a missing word here, and through the oral instructions of the guru. So at this point, so when you have this experience, then we've recognized all the problems faults that we need to eliminate. We've gone through the antidotes for them. And so then what is it that happens? Well, then we find out, we realize, what's the difference between awareness and ignorance? We see, this is what awareness is. This is what unawareness or ignorance is. And then we get we realize, okay, this is what the all ground is. This is the ignorance of the all ground, and then the antidote for that is the dharmakaya. And so, what is that like? And then we realize and then the consciousness and the wisdom. So we realize that there's this consciousness that has ignorance, and then there is the wisdom, the clear wisdom. And so, what is that like? And so through these instructions, we come to know, we come to understand what they are like. And the way we understand them is that first it's through the oral instructions of it's through our own experience and through the oral instructions of the guru. And so through these, we can come to understand what the difference between ignorance and awareness, the difference between the all ground and the dharmakaya. In our experience, we can say, okay, this is what it is. That is the all ground. This is what the awareness is. This is what wisdom is. We develop this experience that knows what it is through our own experience of meditation, and also through listening to the instructions of the Lama. And then we can say, okay, that's what that is. And we have this real confidence in this. We have this real strong, unshakable confidence in it. Like, there's no chance that there is any mistake in this. So, like, that is exactly what it is. I know what it is. This is what it is. And so that is the sort of state that we need to sustain. So we believe in our experience, and we believe in the instructions of the Lama, and through that we develop this confidence. And so So then we have this confidence. We say, okay, there's no mistake now. That this is what the Dharmakaya is. This is what it is, and that is what we need to sustain and meditate upon. But then, what next? What happens next? Well, next is given an example, and the example is when maintaining this recognition, let your consciousness rest in itself, and its nature of wisdom will be present, self-existing, like water which clears when left unstirred. So if you have this silty water, you just let it sit. If you just let the water sit, then the silt naturally goes to the bottom of the water. But if you stir it up, the water is going to continually be silty. And so, in the same way, just as in this example, we have the consciousness and the wisdom. And the consciousness, if we just sort of let the consciousness alone, let it alone. We don't try to stop it or anything. We don't try to intensify it or anything. We just leave it alone, and it naturally is going to go away. So let your consciousness rest in itself. You could also translate this as leave your consciousness alone. And its nature of wisdom will be present and self-existing. That naturally, the nature of the mind is just automatically, naturally present, and so it is there. And so this instruction should be regarded as the chief point. This is the main thing that we need to do when we, whether we have a lot of thoughts going on in the meditation or however it is. This is the main point for how we need to sustain the Dharma expanse, the nature of the mind. So don't get involved in the speculation of accepting and rejecting ideas like, is this the object of meditation? Is the object of meditation consciousness or wisdom? So it's like you're sitting there meditating thinking, is this consciousness or is this wisdom? What is it? What's it like? Is it consciousness or wisdom? There's no need to get involved in that sort of speculation of thinking, okay, this is consciousness, so this is something that I need to eliminate from my meditation. This is wisdom, so it's something that I need to take up in intensified meditation. So don't get involved in that sort of speculation. Nor should you rely on theoretical book knowledge, which only increases thought activity. So here, if we think, okay, this is what it says in this book, and it corresponds to this and all this. If you start thinking in that way, then it's just going to increase the a number of thoughts that you have. So you shouldn't do that. So to some extent, these involvements obscure shamatha and vipassana. So these do create some sort of an obscuration to your shamatha and your vipassana meditation. So among the 5 faults, the 2 that we haven't discussed were too much effort and too little effort. And so here, the too much effort is saying, okay, this is what it is, it's not that, and it's all this effort of thinking. And so whether or not we are trying to practice shamatha meditation or insight meditation, this stirs up our meditation. And so among the 5 faults in our samadhi, this is the fault of putting too much effort, of keeping on stirring it up, thinking of it. And then there's the fault of not enough effort. And so if you're always thinking, is my meditation clear? Is it strong? Is it good? Is that the clarity? Is it not? Then you're just thinking so much, and you're going to stir up your meditation. It will not be beneficial for your meditation. So that is too much effort. Then too little effort is when faults occur and you don't do anything about it, and you just do too little effort. That also is a problem you need to eliminate. It's like when Gampopa was getting the instructions on Mahamudra from Milarepa, Milarepa gave him the instruction that you don't need to spend too much time thinking about the books. You don't need to think too much about the validity or whether something is valid or invalid. You need to just look at the nature of the mind and meditate upon the nature of the mind. And so when you're doing this, it's not important whether it's logical or not. Follow the instructions and just rest within them. Let go or let it be within them without altering them in any way. That is the most important point. And so Here, there's the fault of having either too much effort or not too little effort, and so in this way, you should try to avoid having either too much or too little of the effort. You should not examine the mind too much, but you should also not leave it without examining it. So here, these instructions are the instructions in abiding in space-like equanimity. So first, we had the instructions on breaking open the eggshell of ignorance. Then we had the instructions on cutting through the web of existence. And now we have these instructions on the abiding in space like equanimity. So the instructions on breaking the eggshell and cutting through the web are for when we first recognize the nature of the mind, and then then when we've recognized the nature and come to see the nature of the mind, then what is it that we need to do? What sort of instructions do we need? Well, we need these instructions on the space-like equanimity. They're about how to nurture experience. But how do they say that we should nurture experience? Well, first of all, they say that it isn't enough just recognizing this nature of awareness is not enough. So recognizing the nature of an awareness on its own is not enough. We also need to meditate upon that. And in order to meditate upon that, we need to maintain undistractedly the constant mindfulness. So we need to have the mindfulness and awareness in our meditation to be able to rest without being distracted. So the mindfulness to rest undistractedly. So just having recognition on its own is not enough. We need to maintain that with our mindfulness and awareness. And then when we're maintaining that and sustaining that with our mindfulness and awareness, well, what is it that's going to happen? Well, there are going to be all sorts of different things that happen. Some big experiences, little experiences, high, low, all sorts of different experiences will occur. And when these experiences occur, we should not think of them as being good, nor should we think of them as being bad, but we should just let them we should just try to maintain them we should let them move on their own progress without trying to be too attached to them. And so just let them go along as they go along, without clinging to one as being high and one to being low. Rather, we just sort of maintain our experience as they are, as it is. Now, especially for beginners, we have the problem of many thoughts occurring in our mind. And when there are many thoughts that occur in our mind, then the instruction is that we not to be too upset about it, not to try too hard, not to put too little effort into it. But first, we need to realize that we need to meditate and practice it, and we need to come to know what we're doing. And through doing this, then we can develop the real confidence in our meditation. When we develop that confidence in the meditation, then it's not like we need to keep examining our meditation and saying, is it good or is it bad? Is it good or is it bad? We don't need to keep examining it as it is. We have the fault of too much effort and too little effort. We don't need to have too much effort in the meditation. Just maintain it as it is, sustain and nurture the practice. And so when so that is how we need to meditate here. Now, when we do this, that is the method of how we meditate. But when we meditate like this, what is the result of meditating like that? What are the benefits of doing this type of meditation? Well, as it says at the top of the next page, at some point you will reach stability in the practice of shamatha and vipassana as a natural unity, in which the training of shamatha steadies the constant mindfulness of resting in the natural state, and vipassana recognizes your essence as a natural cognizance. And so the training in shamatha is the constant mindfulness, being undistracted from resting in the natural state, that constant mindfulness of shamatha. And then there is the vipassana. So the vipassana is the recognition of the essence of the natural state, recognition of the nature of your mind. And so resting within that. So you have the shamatha and you have the vipassana, and these two are connected. There's the natural unity. There is a connection between these two. And so we need to, so it says here, you'll reach the stability. So the point here is that we need to actually develop this sort of stability. And so when we practice like this, we will develop experience. We need to have that experience. We need to be diligent as well. And then through diligent, it'll be like at that point the original abidance in the natural state and the vipassana of natural luminosity are primordially inseparable. So it's like we have the mother and child luminosity. And so the child luminosity is this luminosity, the recognition we develop through our own meditation. And then there is the primordial, naturally present luminosity. There's the primordially, naturally present shamatha meditation, and there's the primordially, naturally present insight meditation. So primordially, we have this original stability, this original shamatha that is present within us. And we have the original naturally present wisdom that is within us. And so the luminous quality that is originally present. And so at that point, the shamatha of the original abidance in the natural estate and the vipassana of the natural luminosity are primordially inseparable. And that is the dawn of self-existing wakefulness, the realization of the great perfection, or Dzogchen. So this is what the realization of Dzogchen is. It's this resting stably within that. And so in this way, we've had three different sets of instructions. There's been the instructions on breaking open the eggshell of ignorance, the instructions on cutting through the web of existence, and these third sets of instructions on abiding in space-like equanimity. And so these instructions on relying on space-like equanimity are being stable within the meditational experience. Now, in the commentary, these are the three sections that are described in the commentary. It doesn't say that there's any other, there's another specific section to the text. But when I look at it, I think that there is actually a fourth section, and the fourth section is the spontaneous presence of the three kayas. And so this section on the spontaneous of the three kayas is what follows from here. But I think we've had enough for this afternoon, and we will discuss the rest tomorrow morning. And so now let us do a little bit of meditation.